Hey, what's up? It's Astro here. In today's video, I'm going to tell you about what I did to tidy up my Yamaha Nmax's rear end. We're checking out the rear end today. As you see, I've done a little bit of work. Well, not done a bit of work, but I've bought some parts and I've modified it. So this has kind of tidied up the rear end. I'm going to be talking about a few of the mods that I've done, which in my opinion kind of adds up a tidier look or a sharper look to the rear, which I really like. When I first bought the Nmax, one of the main things that kind of I thought, well, it didn't look quite perfect, or it didn't look great, or it didn't look fantastic, was the rear end. It looked a little bit soft to me, in my opinion, if that describes it. Anyway, I'm going to tell you about what I did. The rear handlebar here, or the sissy bar, so that comes in silver. And one thing that I noticed about the silver is the paint is very, very soft and very kind of cheap in a way. I did wrap this in a satin black before. After wrapping it, I removed it, and as I was removing the wrap, it was ripping the silver paint off, so it was kind of lumpy. So what I did was just completely smoothed it off, and then I ended up wrapping over in this white there. It's kind of color matched to the body there, which is quite good. Really happy about that. And to me, that kind of just tidies it all up, rather than having like this this silver section here. It's white, so it kind of goes with the theme. Secondly, I'm going to talk about this lip section that goes there. It's this plastic piece here. I think it's plastic, but I got it online from, I think it was Indonesia. It kind of does away with the plastic. There's a plastic that kind of rests on this rear light here, and this adds a bit more depth to it. As you can see, there's a tiny little lip on the back, and that gives it a little bit of an accent, a little bit sharper. What I did was added a third brake light. This is actually a running light and brake light, completely waterproof and E-marked as well. The lens is E-marked, and it comes with a little rubber bung here. All I had to do was drill two little holes underneath this part here, and that can screw in, and I drew the third hole in the center, and the wire goes through there, and that's wired into the brake light now, so that comes on when I brake. The next part, which as you can see obviously I've modified, is this whole light section. It's an actual whole light section. About this rear light, I'd like to talk about the quality of the build and the quality of the way it functions and how it was made. On the inside here, there's these white bars. This is the bare naked circuit. It didn't come like that. It come with these bars as well, all along here. And all that is that was a plastic see-through cover bar, and what they did was they spray painted it white to give it a white look. Okay, so you can't see the LEDs. The problem with that is it covers most of the light. I'd say it probably shields about 30% of the light coming through. So the light is very, very dim. To counteract that, what I did was I took the lens apart, and I took all the white bars. It comes like a piece, so it's a white piece there and a white piece there and a white piece there. I took them off and I sanded them down to try and remove as much of the paint as possible. That obviously, the reason they painted it is not for it to look good, but because when the light comes on, it looks like one solid red bar of light. That's fine and great, but the problem is if it's not giving out the correct amount of light, it would be very hard for anyone following you to see the light. So when you brake, for instance, you can't really see it. When I was online buying this light, I was concerned about how bright it was, because on video would always adjust the lens, so you could never get a proper rendition on video of how bright it was, and that really bugged me. So in some videos it looked really dim, and in some videos it looked really bright because the light was probably overexposing the camera lens, sorry. So you didn't really know. I can tell you that in person, originally, it's very, very dull. You can barely tell that you're braking when you're braking. These parts here, literally, I completely removed those bar lens because I thought it looked better anyway, showing bare LED, you know, a little bit of circuitry there. Plus it's got a smoked rear lens, so it looks quite good. I don't really mind the look of seeing the bare circuitry there. The cover lens inside acts as a holder for the LED to go on this. Without that, the LED circuitry cannot be held in place. So you're going to have to find a way to mount that. I use different methods like epoxy and molding new plastics into it to create a hold so it can hold it in tightly. That's partly why the reason why I didn't remove the internal lens, because that is literally all that's holding it on, holding the circuitry on, is that those bars you see there, so I had to leave them there. It's a lot brighter now. After scrubbing down most of the paint off the internal lens and removing these, it's a lot brighter. Secondly, what I did, and I wasn't too happy about the way it was originally wired up, should I say, is when you turn it on, the red light, obviously the rear light is red LEDs, and it goes all the way across, all the way across, and all the way across. So all this lights up from here to here in red. Now that it also acts as an indicator. So when you indicate left, that flashes from red to amber or yellow. Yeah, it kind of goes red and then amber, red, amber, and it wasn't as attention grabbing. The indicator was very subtle when it came on, so I didn't like that. So all I did was disengage one wire, disengage the red LEDs on this section and this section as well by disengaging a wire, and only using that as an indicator, and only using this as an indicator. So the whole rear section here is the running and brake light. That acts as a brake light, and this is for indicator only. And I thought that was a much more cleaner setup. I'm going to show you what I mean here. As you can see, it originally, as I said, all this lit up red as well, which I didn't really like. And I'll show you the indicator as well. And that's the indicator for the left. Now, as you can see, it's very, very bright now. Originally, it was very, very dim with the cover on it, which I wasn't a big fan of. But I like the way this kind of looks now. You know, I really dig that kind of raw LED bar look. And this is the brake light that I'm engaging. It's kind of blowing out the camera, but it is very bright. That center section there is also coming on when I do that. And to me, it's just a much cleaner look than having the side lights kind of switching from brake and signal and running lights all at the same time. So it's a much more cleaner look in my opinion. So that's what I did, kind of modified it. The next part I want to talk about is this ADIO tail tidy. I think it's a tail tidy, or it's a tail cutoff. As you can see, it's literally just a metal bar that goes from this side here. It's a 3-piece unit. Oftentimes when you install a tail tidy on a bike, you just remove the rear fender off the rear, like the big ginormous rear fender that originally comes with it, and you install a tail tidy on. It's slightly different with this. The design of this is designed to cover the area that you cut your original rear fender off. Okay, so what that means is the rear fender isn't uninstalled, it's cut. Okay, so under here, what I had to do was Dremel all along here and all along there and all along the other side to remove the original rear fender, which came to about here, the mud guard stroke fender thing. That was cut off, and this literally just slips under there, bolts up, comes over here, bolts to the middle section, and the other side is the same. Okay, so it's a 3-piece section, and if I show you underneath, that's what it looked like there. Okay, so that's kind of you know, mounted on my number plate there, and it does a good job. But I was a bit shocked though. I was thinking, wow, this really I thought this was a straight install, but it's not. You've actually got to cut your original thing. When you do that though, if you're not very good at cutting, you could make a mess. It could be very jaggy and you can't tidy it up properly. So what this does is kind of cover those horrible areas. After installing these lights, this rear light, the LED section and stuff, you no longer have a number plate light. Okay, the number plate light doesn't exist. So what I also had to do was buy number plate light and install that and wire it up there, wire it in with the rear lights. That's all been potted and completely sealed, so that's fine, it's weatherproofed. One thing I will say about this rear number plate holder is that these two are the holes for your number plate. Okay, so what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to install your number plate on these two holes, but for my liking that was a bit too high up. And secondly, it was very, very sloped. I mean, you see the slope here, that's because I had to bend the bar. This bar here isn't designed for number plate mounting, if you can see that. This bar here is designed to hold a reflector. Because this ADIO tail tidy, it was designed for a Japanese market, so it holds a very small number plate here, literally about half the size of this, and it was sloped about there. It was very slanted, it was almost horizontal. Obviously, where our plates are ginormous on this side of the world, what I had to do is I had to bend this down and install it on the bottom part there, which isn't very difficult. All I had to do was drill 2 holes here on the number plate and mount it on there, and it's mounted on the rear section. Okay, so mine is slightly modified and slightly different. That's why you can see 2 little bolts there. To me, it's a more friendly angle now. It was really, really sloped before. It was really that way and too much. Okay, it's literally too much. But to my liking, this is what I enjoy it as. Okay, so that's basically it. That's how I tidied up my my rear section of my Nmax. Hopefully this video helped someone out there, or well, not really helped, but I just thought I'd share it with you because it's I've done a bit of work to it and I really wanted to showcase it somewhere, so I thought I'd share it with you guys. Hope you enjoyed the video.